I picked up my brother from the streets, and he ended up betraying me with my wife in my own house. My brother always had problems with our family since he was a teenager. He used to fight with our parents, leave home for months, and then come back, usually completely shattered and asking for money. At first, our parents gave him some, but eventually, they gave up and banned him from the house. Still, he would come to visit us from time to time, saying that he had changed and that he was not the same person as before. But after 1 or 2 days, he would become unbearable. Again, he argued with our parents and ran away. This happened several times, and each time our parents accepted him back until my father finally banned him for good. When he came anyway, they called the police. During this time, he still tried to contact us regularly, saying he needed help and a place to stay, that he was sorry for what he had done, and so on. Of course, we ignored him. But as time went on, I just couldn't leave my brother in that situation. I had bought 2 apartments in my building and was only using one. I had planned to rent out the other one, but when I saw my brother on the street while on my way to work, I decided to talk to him and give him the apartment, as well as get him a job at a branch of the company where I work. Yes, I know it was a decision I should never have made, but I did it out of love. Everything was fine. I thought he was finally changing, but I was bitterly mistaken when I took a 2-month trip to open a branch in another state. My wife doesn't work and stays at home all day, so I left her in charge of watching my brother to see if he didn't get into trouble again. She always said everything was fine, so I never suspected anything. However, about 2 months after I left on the trip, I was released to return home. 15 days earlier than planned, I decided not to tell my wife and surprise her, as I missed her and would have the rest of the week off to spend time with her, so I bought flowers, chocolates, and a perfume she loves and went home. However, of course, when I entered the house and opened the door to our room, the first thing I saw was my brother and her together, sleeping in my bed. I had no reaction. I just managed to leave the room and cry maybe for minutes or hours, but I decided I wouldn't let it go. I took a photo of them together, took screenshots of her phone, and left the house. When I called his workplace, I found out my wife was lying and he hadn't gone to work for about 2 months, always saying he was sick, and he hadn't been fired yet. Since I was an important employee in the company and they were giving him a chance, I said they could fire him and that I would sign his dismissal if necessary. Additionally, I am officially issuing a notice to a victim of the house I had let him live in, as I had never officially transferred it, although I had planned to do so in the future. I have also spoken with my lawyers, and we will begin the divorce process. Neither of them knows this yet, and it has been about 5 days, and they still think I am traveling. I know my brother will end up back on the streets, and I know that when they find out what he did, definitely no relatives will accept him back, but honestly, I don't care about him. My wife has no money of her own, as she never worked, and she also has no family, so I don't know how she will manage, as we have a marriage where assets are not divided, so she will not receive a penny from me. And again, I don't care about her either. The news of all this will reach them today, and when it happens, I will update here. Update asterisk. Basically, all the news reached them at the same time, and I received numerous phone calls. She asked me why I was doing this, that she thought everything was fine, that she didn't understand. She even asked me the reason behind all this and if I was seeing someone else, which is quite ironic, considering that the reason for the divorce itself is that she was with my own brother. My brother also sent messages asking why I divorced her and saying that she was an amazing woman. He even asked if despite the divorce, she could still live in my house, as this was important to him because she was helping him with some things. Honestly, I couldn't believe how shameless he was and even wondered if he knew that I had seen everything and was just mocking me. But shortly after, he asked if I knew the reason he was fired and if I could find him another job. So I assumed he knew nothing about the divorce court. When my wife found out that I already knew everything, she started crying and begging for forgiveness, saying that it had only happened once. And when the screenshots I had taken of her phone showing that it had happened many more times than once were shown, she barely reacted as I expected in the end. She got nothing, and the eviction order for my house was immediate, so she had a little more than a day to pack up and leave. The same day, I served the eviction order to my brother as well. At this point, my ex-wife would have already told him that I knew everything because the first thing he did was kneel and say he was sorry, that it was she who had convinced him, that he had never wanted to betray my trust and that the house meant everything to him, and that he couldn't go back to the streets, but I simply did not react. I just handed him the eviction order, turned around, and told him that if he did not leave within the time estimated by the order, I would call the police. Now both are gone, but they kept calling me constantly for a while. Of course, it didn't take long before I blocked both numbers. I know my ex-wife now lives in a shelter and my brother is back on the streets. Honestly, I don't know how they will manage, but I don't think it's my problem. I took them in, cared for them, and was betrayed. What they are going through now is simply the consequence of that.